A shimmering portal tears open above Mikado City, casting its shadow over 280,000 unsuspecting lives. An unearthly creature emerges, its massive form crushing the streets as chaos erupts. These invaders from another dimension become known as neighbors. Panic spreads as citizens realize the threat is real, their world forever altered by the arrival of beings no one can understand. But amidst the terror, a group of extraordinary individuals steps forward, their powers igniting hope against the unknown. Clad in uniforms and unwavering resolve, they declare their readiness, vowing to protect their city from the devastation only they foresaw. With the towering border HQ standing sentinel, the defenders prepare for battle, their secret technology humanity's last line against the relentless onslaught. Border's headquarters rises above the city, ever watchful as citizens cling to routines shaped by years of new dangers. 4 years have passed since the first gate appeared, marking a long era of uncertainty for Mikado City. Despite the constant threat, life goes on. People rarely leave, even as portals to another world still gape open among busy streets. Echoes of explosions and bursts of light break the monotony, yet faith in Border lets the city's heart adapt and endure. In the classroom, students chatter about daily life, memories of disasters almost fading into background noise. A group of boys marvel at a battle photo, awed by the neighbor's monstrous size, their curiosity tinged with excitement rather than fear. Gossip ripples through the classroom as a student exclaims about Border recruiting someone's boyfriend, the news sparking wide-eyed amazement. A boisterous classmate shouts his dream of joining Border, playfully invoking the team's battle cry as his friends mock and egg him on. Amid the lively chatter, a bespectacled boy stands alone, the words of others blurring into meaningless noise around him. Suddenly, a stray object flies through the air, hitting him in the back, jolting him from his thoughts. Laughter erupts as his classmates tease him, tossing blame and insults while he fends off their taunts in resigned frustration. A steely voice rises above the din, calling the boy by his nickname and demanding he hand something over, signaling that the day's social struggles are far from over. He eyes his surroundings cautiously, burdened by an invisible weight as tension hangs thick in the air. A surprising movement catches a peer off guard, his expression shifting from curiosity to shock in an instant. Gratefully receiving a handshake, the boy nods, acknowledging the gesture with quiet humility amid the classroom bustle. Returning to his seat, he lowers his head, lost again in thought as others watch silently from nearby. Peers mutter in disbelief about his resilience, labeling him a powerhouse with a mix of awe and respect. Meanwhile, 2 girls speculate about the whereabouts of their teacher, their conversation hinting at deeper connections yet to be revealed. He stands in silence, lost in thought, the weight of Border's presence lingering in his mind. Across the room, worried voices wonder if the transfer student is really involved with Border, their curiosity blending with concern. On the street, an anxious figure assures everyone he's unharmed, despite the wreckage of a recent accident. Authorities arrive, bewildered that someone could emerge unscathed after being struck by a car, their disbelief painted across their faces. Stubbornly, he brushes off their worries, insisting he hasn't suffered even a scratch, his composure belying the scene's chaos. The owner of the damaged vehicle prioritizes his well-being, relieved to see him standing, as the boy reassures them that their concern matters more than the car. A stern inquiry demands the new arrival's name and address, official forms at the ready. With a bright smile, the white-haired boy answers, introducing himself as Yuma Kuga. He hesitates over his address, the moment stretched thin by uncertainty and a faint smile. Eventually, he recites his location, 851 Rokudaicho, Mikado City, committing it to memory as he repeats it. Stepping out into the city, Yuma surveys his surroundings with an uneasy grin, marveling at Japan's hidden dangers. A peculiar sidekick hidden from view offers a wry warning, reminding him to be more attentive as mysteries begin to unfold. Replica's calm voice warns Yuma that moving unprotected would have led to harm, revealing a hidden layer of danger. Yuma's sheepish admission of being late earns him a gentle reprimand. He missed the mark by 25 minutes. Bright-eyed, he asks if he can use his trigger, anticipation shining behind his innocent smile. Replica responds coolly, insisting the choice isn't his to make, the final decision resting with Yuma alone. Pausing on the stairs, Yuma sighs and decides against using his power for now, earning Replica's approval for his restraint. He wonders aloud if being late to his first day at a new school is a mistake, anxiety tugging at the edges of his confident facade. The school building looms as a backdrop to the chaos about Yuma, with a teacher explaining the difficulty of contacting his guardians. A student comments on Yuma's tardiness, shaking his head as the classroom environment bristles with anticipation and unease. Another voice laments the timing, highlighting the added stress of transferring just before exams. In the classroom, conversations dim as students settle into their seats, curiosity and suspense hanging in the air. One pupil notices all students wear matching uniforms, wondering if it's a trendy phenomenon or something more official. Yuma deduces that the uniforms are likely designated by administrators to identify affiliated institutions, comparing it to military attire as Replica listens intently nearby. A girl peeks around the corner, her curious gaze meeting an uneasy boy standing on the doorstep, his demeanor shy yet defiant. He introduces himself as Yuma Kuga, slightly nervous but eager to fit into this unfamiliar class. A stern teacher reminds him that he's late, emphasizing the importance of punctuality on his first day. Yuma apologizes for his tardiness, quickly explaining that he's new and still adjusting to the schedule. Classmates exchange whispers and glances, trying to gauge the new student's background and intentions. Yuma looks around the classroom, silently wondering if he can truly belong here, amid the friendly yet mysterious students. Whispers ripple through the classroom, eyes fixed on a new student wearing a conspicuous ring, a subtle defiance against school rules. The teacher notices the ring, his surprise breaking the silence as his gaze lingers thoughtfully on the student's hand. Close-ups reveal the ring on the student's hand, a quiet symbol amidst the uniformity, contrasting with his school blazer. A gentle reminder is given that accessories are forbidden, the teacher's voice a mix of concern and authority, as Yuma acknowledges with a nod. Yuma pulls his hair back in a mix of resignation and amusement, the tension easing as the rule comes into focus. The teacher insists the ring must be removed, offering to keep it safe, reinforcing boundaries and expectations clearly and kindly. Yuma stands firm, calmly refusing the teacher's request with a simple declaration that he can't comply. Confusion flashes across the teacher's face, unsure if the student's defiance is genuine or misunderstanding. Yuma grips his ring protectively as the teacher demands he hand it over, insisting that he's serious. The teacher slams his hand down in frustration, loudly reminding Yuma that school rules strictly forbid accessories. A surge of electricity shocks Yuma as he absorbs the gravity of the confrontation, the room crackling with tension. Relenting at last, Yuma apologizes and turns away, vowing to give up the struggle as the teacher tries to stop him from leaving. A hand is raised politely, breaking the tension with a calm request for the teacher's attention. A student speaks up, suggesting that maybe Yuma has a reason for not removing his ring, empathy and curiosity mingling in his voice. The teacher is caught off guard, shifting his stern expression to consider the possibility that there's more to the story. Classmates murmur, affectionately dubbing the helpful student Mr. White Knight, while another calls him Four Eyes again, their words tinged with playful camaraderie. The teacher directly asks about the ring, prompting Yuma to reveal it is a memento of his father, the truth deepening the quiet in the room. Back in the class, conversations spark about confiscated treasures as the atmosphere grows lighter and more understanding. The teacher's eyes glint with skepticism, dismissing the justification for the ring as inappropriate even as the tension settles over the classroom. Yuma's gaze drops, quietly affirming the ring's importance as a keepsake from his late father as the spotlight sharpens on his emotion. Sweat drips and nervous shivers ripple around Yuma, the intensity of the moment weighing on his small frame while silent glances pass between classmates. A teacher calls for study hall, giving everyone space while summoning Ms. Mizunuma for a private word, the charged discussion briefly receding. Mikumo is asked to help Yuma get settled, a classroom connection forming against the backdrop of uncertainty and unease. Yuma grins shyly, hope flickering behind his nervous smile as new friendships promise to grow in an unfamiliar world. A new friendship begins with a handshake, Yuma's smile finally matched by the shy greeting of a classmate. Curious students gather and ask Yuma why his hair is white, surprised when he admits it used to be black and simply changed over time. One boy muses that Yuma, for all his courage, seems too immature to be a border agent, but briefly reconsiders his judgment. Yuma sits quietly as someone playfully flicks his head, a light-hearted moment that hints at growing acceptance among his peers. A small object rolls across his desk, unexpected but harmless, a silent offering of camaraderie. Yuma looks up, a soft sense of belonging dawning, as the classroom politely pauses to welcome him into their world. Students gather in small groups, sharing stories and laughter while new bonds start to form. Yuma is caught off guard as paper balls fly toward him, a playful test of his reactions and outsider status. A bespectacled boy glares at the instigators, muttering about the trouble caused by those reckless classmates. Yuma approaches the desk, quietly signaling for Makumo's attention as he tries to find his place. He holds up the paper, questioning Makumo's intentions before accepting the small, cryptic gesture. Makumo's friends wave the act off, calling it merely a friendly greeting, another step toward making Yuma feel welcome. Yuma watches the classroom with wide eyes, quietly labeling the oddball antics a Japanese welcome. A hush falls over a group of classmates as they witness the exchange, uncertainty hanging in the brief silence. The tension breaks when Makumo, flustered, scolds his friends for their rowdiness with a forceful slam on the desk. Yuma turns to Makumo, recognizing the commotion isn't directed at him, while the others laugh it off and refuse to engage. With a calm, almost amused acceptance, Yuma repeats the earlier phrase, a little hello, understanding the subtle gesture. He rolls the paper ball between his fingers, acknowledging and internalizing the strange warmth of his new environment. A sudden blow catches a student off guard, his startled reaction filling the air with chaos as Yuma watches silently. The commotion intensifies when a desk is slammed in frustration, confusion spreading as classmates struggle to understand the clash. Mikumo glares at the culprits, the sound of clattering furniture underscoring his attempt to restore order. Across the room, students question Makumo's outburst, trying to decipher his motives and the spinning tension. Yuma grins, repeating the phrase, just a little hello, as if explaining away the strange customs with cheerful acceptance. One student is left speechless by the scene, his surprise hinting at new respect forming beneath the classroom disorder. A classmate clenches his teeth in tense silence, frustration simmering just beneath the surface. Laughter sweeps through the classroom as others poke fun, lifting the mood and pushing concern aside. Mikumo watches Yuma, realizing the newcomer's boldness is greater than he expected. Suddenly, a student grabs Yuma by the collar, demanding to know if he's being messed with and unleashing pent-up aggression. Yuma surprises everyone with a straightforward offer of friendship, refusing to back down or let the moment sour further. Defiantly, Yuma warns against calling him a liar, holding his ground as the challenge transforms into the start of something real. Mikumo tries to intervene, exasperated by the escalating chaos that swept up his classmates. Order is restored as students reluctantly return to their seats, the tension dissolving into embarrassed silence. Mikumo and Yuma exchange glances, a silent understanding passing between the two amidst the classroom's awkward calm. A student slouches in his seat, the earlier drama clearly weighing on his mind as he quietly broods. The school bell rings, signaling the end of another chapter in the whirlwind of first-day challenges. Outside, Mikumo warns Yuma that his boldness has made enemies, explaining that fights only worsen grudges, while Yuma earnestly seeks advice for how he should have acted differently. Mikumo offers advice, suggesting that in Japan it's better to give a warning or simply ignore antagonists, the cultural difference clear in his words. Yuma struggles with the concept, explaining that in every country he's lived, ignoring bullies only makes things worse as his classmates listen in. A moment of silence passes as Mikumo absorbs Yuma's words, caught off guard by his straightforward experience. The atmosphere shifts as a group of students quietly observe, their curiosity piqued by the unusual conversation. From behind, the class bully calls out for Yuma, his tone signaling that the confrontation isn't finished. Smiling knowingly, a teacher suggests a walk as the group prepares to address the simmering tension head-on. Mikumo throws up his hands in defeat, warning Yuma that trouble was inevitable, but Yuma simply shrugs and agrees to play along. The bullies shove Mikumo aside with mocking jeers, making sure he knows he isn't welcome in their confrontation. Yuma's would-be friend can only watch from the sidelines, silenced by the unwelcome dismissal as the group moves on. The leader of the gang grabs Yuma and scowls, demanding to know if he plans to fight back or simply surrender. A single blow lands suddenly, the force knocking a classmate to the ground and turning shocked stares into panicked whispers. Bystanders and officials rush to the scene as alarms blare, warning of an emergency zone, while speculation about the true cause of the fight ripples through the crowd. Yuma defends his actions, arguing that fighting back is natural when one is ganged upon, his voice steady and assertive. Mikumo questions why Yuma bothered to follow him, calling him weak but perhaps intrigued by his persistence. Yuma's calm retort earns a stern warning from Mikumo to curb his boldness before things escalate further. They stand near a warning sign, Mikumo cautioning Yuma about the forbidden zone beyond, emphasizing the danger they face. Suddenly, Mikumo's warning is interrupted as he takes a harsh kick to the face, falling hard with shock. The group stares sternly, reminding Yuma they understand the rules clearly and aren't to be taken lightly, setting the stage for harsh lessons ahead. A group of bullies taunts Mikumo, urging him to beg for help as he coughs and struggles on the ground. Replica challenges Yuma, asking if he intends to help his friend now that he's witnessing trouble firsthand. Yuma weighs his options, observing that Mikumo must make his own decision about getting involved. On the rooftop, the two boys sit in tense silence, each considering the risks of intervening against the crowd. Laughter erupts from the bullies as they mock Yuma's apparent indifference, calling him heartless and inhuman. Yuma is left puzzled by the jeers, unable to understand why his honest words are met with ridicule, as the others giggle behind his back. A gang member calls out to Yuma, reminding him that the situation is his responsibility, and scraping a pipe menacingly against the ground. The leader addresses Yuma, admitting his anger at Mikumo, but declaring his rage toward Yuma is far greater. With a sudden motion, he swings at Yuma, unleashing the full force of his fury. Yuma reacts swiftly, blocking the attack as the two clash in a burst of movement. The impact thunders outward, shaking the ground beneath their feet as the confrontation escalates. Jagged sound effects mark the tense standoff, signaling that the true fight is only just beginning. Pain flashes across the bully's face as Yuma's move catches him off guard, disrupting the confidence in his attack. Shock and confusion ripple through the group when the leader tumbles backward, an unexpected blow leaving him clutching his foot and howling in pain. Mikumo looks on in disbelief, his mind racing to make sense of what just happened amid the chaos. Yuma stands unfazed amid the uncertain silence, casually questioning whether the strange fight is finally finished. He gazes at his opponent with quiet intensity, his words lingering as everyone wonders if this tense standoff has truly ended. The leader grits his teeth, unable to hide his frustration, as he calls uncertainly for his backup, refusing to let the conflict go. Yuma rallies Mikumo to action, his resolve echoed as Mikumo steels himself and shouts to get the others' attention. A sudden, eerie sound sweeps through the air, drawing every eye skyward as an ominous tension descends on the group. The boys freeze in alarm, their faces turning from anger to fear as an announcement bursts forth. Authorities plead for urgent evacuation. Barricades cordon off the area, silent warnings of a catastrophe about to breach the fragile normalcy. Yuma clutches his ring, senses tingling with the arrival of something monstrous and unseen. He whispers that it's almost here. Above, a swirling vortex tears open the sky, black energy crackling as Yuma announces an after-practicer. An invader has truly come. A monstrous figure erupts from the blocked zone, its swirling eye and jagged body radiating danger as warnings erupt to flee the area. Mikumo shouts in panic, it's a neighbor, sending the terrified students scrambling amid detonations and chaos. The giant neighbor advances, trampling the pavement and scattering the group as its guttural roar shakes the city. Amid the turmoil, Yuma and Mikumo urge bystanders to escape, steeling themselves for imminent disaster as the ground trembles. The creature's gaping maw looms, its rows of teeth bearing down on a frozen student who realizes too late his injuries have trapped him. With a sickening crunch, the neighbor bites down, its merciless attack sealing the boy's fate as the others watch in horror. Mikumo throws himself toward the neighbor, dodging debris and calling out for Kuga's support as he sprints into danger. Determined to help, Mikumo shouts his intention to aid the injured classmates, his conviction outweighing his fear. Yuma blinks in confusion, struggling to grasp his friend's selfless resolve. Onlookers coldly blame the victims for entering the forbidden zone, their indifference stinging as chaos unfolds. Yuma demands to know why Mikumo would risk himself for others, his voice rising above the panic. With unwavering resolve, Mikumo bolts forward, declaring he'll help because it's what he truly believes is right. Mikumo thrusts his hand out, shouting "Trigger on," as bursts of light swirl and his battle suit materializes around him. He leaps into action, his new gear propelling him with force as he prepares to face the rampaging neighbor. Nearby, a terrified classmate screams for help, scrambling in vain to escape the monstrous threat. Mikumo races to the rescue, unleashing a desperate cry as he charges the beast, pushing through fear for the sake of others. He lands atop the neighbor, striking it hard, just as the others reel in disbelief at his courage. Without hesitating, Mikumo calls for everyone to run, determined to hold the line and buy them precious seconds. The students scatter in panic, their desperate cries echoing down the ruined street as chaos erupts behind them. Replica's urgent advice rings in Yuma's ears. He must decide for himself whether or not to intervene. With a deafening crash, the neighbor barrels through concrete, sending debris and terror flying in every direction. Yuma consults Replica once more, clarifying if using his trigger is permitted. Replica insists the choice remains his alone. Stealing his resolve, Yuma initiates the transformation. Energy crackles and black armor envelops his small frame. Yuma and Replica synchronize, their voices overlapping as Yuma charges toward the monster, ready to reveal the power lying dormant within. Yuma leaps forward, dodging debris as he launches himself straight into battle, his black armor slicing through the chaos. With explosive force, he ricochets off the shattered pavement, his movements a blur as the monster's massive form looms above the city. Replica shouts "Boost," and Yuma springs even higher, drawing the astonished gaze of both friend and foe. The neighbor twists in confusion, unable to track Yuma's shifting trajectory as the battle surges overhead. Yuma's combat suit pulses, he triggers a second burst, the double boost propelling him in a corkscrew up the beast's torso. With a determined cry, Yuma soars skyward, slicing past jaws and claws, intent on turning the tide of this desperate fight. Yuma rockets skyward, his combat suit a blur as debris falls around him and battle lines shift beneath. He barely clears the monster's reach, spinning through the clouds as an explosion erupts across the city skyline. Kaboom! Smoke billows from the impact zone, buildings trembling as the force reverberates through Mikado City. A lone student stands in shock, his face lit by the blast as he struggles to comprehend the unreal power on display. Yuma lands with a heavy thud, his feet carving new marks in the devastated street, armor glinting against the chaos. Turning to Mikumo, Yuma's voice cuts gently through the aftermath. He's ready to move on, but camaraderie lingers amid the ruins. Yuma stands quiet, the sound of battle fading as he glances back to find Mikumo, their encounter marked by exhaustion and relief. Mikumo adjusts his glasses, the realization settling in that Four Eyes is just a nickname. His real name is Osamu Mikumo. He hesitates, then declares his true identity firmly, marking a turning point in their unlikely partnership. Yuma grins wide and acknowledges Osamu's name, a sense of camaraderie replacing former tension. Side by side, Osamu and Yuma check on the others, grateful more classmates escaped unharmed. As sirens and rumblings echo in the distance, Osamu confirms that the rest managed to get away and admits that's good enough for now. A verbal warning is tossed casually, but the message is firm. This remains Mikumo's problem, personalized and serious. Mikumo raises a weapon, declaring his own anger toward Yuma eclipses the existing grudges as he prepares to strike. With a sudden swing, Mikumo's fist crashes into Yuma, setting the tone for a fierce confrontation. Yuma swiftly blocks and counters, the clashing energies sparking a fierce and dynamic battle. The ground shakes under their feet as they engage, the impact echoing across the deserted zone. Mikumo's determined stride signals that despite the odds, he intends to see this through till the very end. The school bully snarls, dragging a pipe across the concrete with a sound meant to intimidate, declaring the fight is still Yuma's problem. Yuma shrugs, admitting his equal frustration toward the so-called Four Eyes, though he remains resolute. The bully swings with fierce anger, screaming that he is way more furious at Yuma than anyone else. In a flash, Yuma deflects the blow, showing his skill and fast reflexes as the fight escalates. Yuma kicks hard, knocking the bully off balance and onto the ground with a heavy thud. The sound of cracking footsteps follows as the bully struggles to rise, the intensity of the conflict deepening with every move. The bully arrogantly warns Yuma, dragging a pipe and declaring the fight remains his problem. Yuma admits he is as upset with Mikumo as the bully, but remains undeterred by the threats. The bully lashes out, screaming his anger towards Yuma as a fight erupts. Yuma reacts swiftly, blocking the attack with precision and calm. He counters with a decisive kick that sends the bully flying to the ground. The final panel echoes with the harsh sounds of footsteps as the bully struggles, but is clearly shaken by Yuma's strength. A young man explains calmly that only a border agent can have a trigger, casting doubt on Yuma's abilities despite the evidence. Yuma looks back at Mikumo with a puzzled expression, questioning if this limitation is only true in this world. Mikumo's face hardens as he silently considers the harsh realities of their dangerous existence. The distant rumble of destruction hangs in the air, a reminder of the ongoing battle beyond the city limits. Yuma turns to Mikumo, asking if he too is part of Border, a mix of hope and uncertainty in his tone. Mikumo quietly reveals that his trigger belonged to his late father and that he himself is not officially part of Border, setting a complex foundation for their alliance. The young man explains that a neighbor is actually a person from the other side of the gates, just like themselves. Mikumo reacts with disbelief and shock upon learning this truth. Yuma explains there are many kinds of people living on the other side, separating their experiences from grown-up assumptions. Mikumo admits he hasn't heard about this new perspective before, but struggles to absorb the revelation. Yuma ponders quietly that this reality differs greatly from what his father told him. With resolve, Mikumo clenches his fist and agrees to move forward, ready to face the challenging truths ahead. The massive eye of the neighbor glares ominously as a smaller figure emerges within the chaos. Yuma and Mikumo exchange words, the tension thick as Mikumo questions Yuma's involvement. Yuma explains his friend's dire circumstances and his reasons for coming to Japan, hinting at a deeper mission. Mikumo notes the strange situation, questioning the reality of Yuma's claims, especially about his late father's trigger. The two share a moment of silent understanding, the ruins of the city stretching out beneath them. A renewed resolve shines in Yuma's eyes as he prepares to face whatever comes next with his new ally by his side. Mikumo grips Yuma's shoulder firmly, voice low but insistent as he asks a serious question. Yuma tilts his head, confused at the sudden interruption and the significance of the upcoming question. Mikumo hesitates momentarily, then asks if Yuma's trigger, his source of power, is real and ready. Yuma nods confidently, explaining he hasn't even used the trigger yet, a subtle smile crossing his face. Mikumo's expression relaxes, a hint of cautious hope flickering in his eyes as he processes the answer. Together, they prepare to face the dangers ahead, their uneasy alliance a beacon of strength in the shadow of chaos. Yuma confronts a bully, warning him that the fight isn't over yet, his tone unyielding. The bully lunges forward angrily, claiming his grudge against Yuma is greater than his anger toward anyone else. Yuma sidesteps a wild punch, his calm precision contrasting the chaotic fury around him. He delivers a swift kick, knocking the bully down with a powerful thud. The sound of cracking footsteps echoes as the bully makes a painful effort to stand. Yuma's steady gaze signals that he's ready for whatever comes next, unshaken and resolute. Yuma springs into action, his agility apparent as he reacts to the new threat among the crowd. Mikumo's shoe stops mid-step, a measured command in his voice as he urges Yuma to listen carefully. The two walk past a vending machine, Mikumo warning Yuma not to flash money in public since it could attract trouble. He adds that people have been whispering about them, making it even more important to be cautious. Someone bumps brusquely into Yuma on the sidewalk, the moment charged and attention immediately turning their way. Yuma winces and apologizes, unsure if it was intentional, while the stranger brushes off the incident with pretend casualness. The bully's voice cuts through the tension as he menacingly warns Yuma that the fight isn't over. Yuma counters, admitting his ire toward Mikumo, but showing no fear or hesitation. The bully lunges forward, screaming his anger, and swings a harsh punch at Yuma. Yuma blocks expertly, displaying calm precision against the wild onslaught. With a sharp counterattack, Yuma kicks the bully hard, sending him crashing to the ground. Thudding footsteps mark the bully's difficult effort to regain his footing, signaling an ongoing intense struggle. Mikumo stands tense, one hand clenched as a thug looms over him, the atmosphere thick with threat and bravado. Suddenly Mikumo is slammed harshly in the gut, the word "Dawn" echoing as pain knocks the wind from his lungs. The gang leader sneers, daring Mikumo to resist and calling him Four Eyes, while his stoic companion remains silent but watchful. Demanding the cash, another gang member grins and insists, mocking Mikumo's predicament. Yuma's eyes narrow in understanding, quickly calculating the best response in the face of hostility. A heavy blow comes down, the situation escalating as Yuma prepares for the confrontation that's about to unfold. The young man explains that a neighbor is actually a person from the other side of the gates, just like themselves. Mikumo reacts with disbelief and shock upon learning this truth. Yuma explains there are many kinds of people living on the other side, separating their experiences from grown-up assumptions. Mikumo admits he hasn't heard about this new perspective before, but struggles to absorb the revelation. Yuma ponders quietly that this reality differs greatly from what his father told him. With resolve, Mikumo clenches his fist and agrees to move forward, ready to face the challenging truths ahead. Yuma stands firm and thoughtful, marveling at how everything he's learned suddenly falls into place. Mikumo breaks the silence, expressing concern that the situation is different and more dangerous because of these new truths. Yuma agrees but emphasizes the threat now comes from within their own ranks, complicating their fight for survival. The distant sounds of battle remind them of the gravity of the situation beyond their conversation. Yuma steps forward determined, promising to stay cautious and face the challenges together with Mikumo. Mikumo nods quietly, acknowledging the new reality and ready to take the next step in their journey. The girl gazes coolly after the scuffle, warning the gang that if they lie, she will fight back. The bullies and the crowd murmur, caught between skepticism and surprise at her boldness. Mikumo questions the aftermath, noticing the gang members lying on the ground. She reassures him with a grin that no serious harm was done this time. Mikumo, however, appears worried and insists that the situation is far from settled. The tension lingers as the girl prepares for the next move, undeterred and ready for what's ahead. The young man explains that a neighbor is actually a person from the other side of the gates, just like themselves. Mikumo reacts with disbelief and shock upon learning this truth. Yuma explains there are many kinds of people living on the other side, separating their experiences from grown-up assumptions. Mikumo admits he hasn't heard about this new perspective before, but struggles to absorb the revelation. Yuma ponders quietly that this reality differs greatly from what his father told him. With resolve, Mikumo clenches his fist and agrees to move forward, ready to face the challenging truths ahead. The scene depicts a tense dialogue between two characters, with with the surrounding environment showing other students standing by. The girl with glasses urges the boy to listen carefully, her expression serious and pleading. The boy looks confused and worried as he questions her, trying to understand the gravity of the situation. The girl explains that her father's actions and their money are tied to a dangerous and complex world beyond what he knows. The boy drops his money in disbelief, realizing the reality he is caught in is far more intricate and perilous. The girl, with a determined look, states she can handle it herself, implying her strength and independence amid chaos. The girl stares down opponents with fierce determination, warning that if they lie to her, she'll fight back with overwhelming force. Her defiant smile challenges their authority as she brands their deceptions as the stupidest lies. The crowd murmurs around the scene, unsure what will come next but wary of the growing tension. Amidst the scattered bodies, Makumo questions the situation, sensing something off about the aftermath of the confrontation. The girl smiles reassuringly, telling Makumo she managed to avoid breaking anyone's bones this time. Makumo shakes his head firmly, declaring that avoiding injury is not the real issue at hand, pushing the story into deeper conflict. Yuma's revelation about neighbors being people like them shocks Makumo, challenging his previous beliefs. Yuma explains many diverse people live on the other side, a reality far more nuanced than Makumo expected. Mikumo admits to never having heard this version of the story before. Yuma notes this diverging perspective makes things more complicated between their worlds. Mikumo resolves to keep a careful eye on Yuma, considering the implications of the new facts. Together, they step forward toward an uncertain, dangerous future fraught with hidden dangers and shifting alliances. Yuma's revelation about neighbors being people like them shocks Makumo, challenging his previous beliefs. Yuma explains many diverse people live on the other side, a reality far more nuanced than Makumo expected. Mikumo admits to never having heard this version of the story before. Yuma notes this diverging perspective makes things more complicated between their worlds. Mikumo resolves to keep a careful eye on Yuma, considering the implications of the new facts. Together, they step forward toward an uncertain, dangerous future fraught with hidden dangers and shifting alliances. Yuma asks Makumo to teach him more about Japan, eager to understand the rules and ways of the world he's stepped into. Mikumo looks surprised and thoughtful, considering how to explain the complexities ahead. He tells Yuma that Japan can be strange to outsiders and warns him to be careful in this unfamiliar place. Yuma listens intently, ready to absorb whatever knowledge Makumo imparts. Mikumo explains that while the laws protect people, many don't follow them, making survival complex. Yuma agrees, understanding Makumo's wisdom and acknowledging he needs guidance navigating this new, dangerous world. The girl gauges Makumo firmly, pressing him for answers as her resolve deepens. Mikumo listens seriously, aware of the burden Yuma carries by stepping into this unfamiliar world. Their conversation reveals a mix of mistrust and growing understanding as they navigate precarious truths. Yuma admits he needs guidance to survive, acknowledging his vulnerabilities in this strange land. Makumo acknowledges Yuma's determination and pledges to be his guide in navigating Japan. Together, they brace themselves for the uncertain challenges ahead, forging a tentative but vital alliance. Yuma nervously acknowledges the chaos, asking Makumo to teach him more about Japan, eager to understand the environment he's suddenly in. Makumo looks surprised but agrees with a nod, recognizing Yuma's genuine desire to learn. Yuma listens attentively as Makumo explains the complexity and risks of the society they need to navigate. Makumo emphasizes that many people act differently than what they seem, warning Yuma to stay cautious. Yuma responds determinedly, ready to adapt and learn, understanding the importance of Makumo's guidance. Together, they face the unknown future, committed to survival and understanding in this unfamiliar land. Yuma instructs Makumo to stay put and not get involved, a determined glint in his eyes. Makumo watches as a group of students loiter nearby, sizing up the situation carefully. He notes the odd behavior of one classmate, pointing out that the shrimp is left alone. A quiet tension builds as the tone shifts to a more serious moment. Mikumo prepares to accompany Yuma, acknowledging the necessity despite the risks. The duo exchanges a knowing look as they prepare to confront whatever awaits them, ready to act in unison. The young man explains that a neighbor is a person from the other side, just like them, revealing a new understanding. Mikumo reacts in shock and disbelief, struggling to process this unexpected truth. Yuma explains that there are many different kinds of people on the other side, expanding the definition beyond what Mikumo believed. Mikumo admits he hasn't heard of this before, showing his surprise and confusion. Yuma reflects quietly that this reality completely changes what they thought, differing from what Mikumo's father told him. With determination, Mikumo clenches his fist, ready to face the challenging new reality alongside Yuma. The girl confirms her readiness, filled with determination to handle things on her own despite the looming dangers. Mikumo warns her to stay cautious as they prepare for the uncertain challenges ahead. Yuma debates the difficulties of adapting to their new reality, reflecting on the lessons to be learned. They acknowledge that the dangers extend beyond physical threats, touching on deep societal misunderstandings. Mikumo pledges to stand by Yuma's side as his mentor and protector in this harsh world. With renewed resolve, they take the first steps into the shadowed unknown, ready to face whatever awaits them. Yuma's revelation about neighbors being people like them shakes Mikumo's worldview to its core. Yuma explains the many kinds of people on the other side, something Mikumo had never considered. Mikumo is shocked and admits this information differs from what he was told growing up. Yuma contemplates the complexity of this new reality and its implications. Mikumo resolves to watch over Yuma carefully as they navigate a world full of unseen dangers. Together, they step forward toward an uncertain future, determined to face the challenges ahead with courage. A demanding student insists that Mikumo pay up, unbothered by his lack of change and pushing for a larger bill. A tense pause follows as another shoe scuffs the ground, tension rising imperceptibly. The scene intensifies as the bully stomps the ground with force, asserting his dominance while Mikumo and Yuma stand by. The overbearing presence is underscored by a harsh stomp, catching both victims and onlookers off guard. The pressure mounts, leaving one student frozen in place, nervous and unsure how to respond. One of the bullies suddenly apologizes, perhaps feeling the weight of the confrontation shift as the dynamics change. Yuma confidently informs Mikumo that they haven't changed since their last encounter, reinforcing his resolve. The scene shifts to the stairs, where students are walking, creating a tense but normal atmosphere. Yuma acknowledges the crowd with a casual smile, while Mikumo looks apprehensive, aware of the dangers around them. One student, surprised, asks if they can stay with them, hinting at a new alliance or trust forming. Yuma and Mikumo exchange a glance, understanding that they must remain cautious but open to new connections. They prepare to continue their journey, navigating the complex social terrain with patience and vigilance. The boy surreptitiously explains they were taken by board the day before, hinting at a confinement or capture. A group discusses the civilians' memory suppression to ensure confidentiality about recent events. Yuma listens intently, surprised at the implications of the memory control. Mikumo wonders aloud if he should be able to fight back but feels constrained, unsure how to proceed. Yuma suggests that the fewer enemies they face, the easier their struggle might be, finding silver linings in adversity. The final close-up captures their determination as they face uncertain and dangerous circumstances with growing resolve. The other students are taken aback by Yuma's ignorance about soccer, concluding that must rule out Europe and leaving them puzzled. Yuma stands confused, holding a soccer ball as classmates question how he could not know about such a popular sport. Trying a different angle, a curious girl asks Yuma what kinds of music, sports, or hobbies were popular in his old home. Yuma's face turns thoughtful. He responds after a pause with a single word, war, shocking his audience. The classmates stare in disbelief, their faces frozen as they process the revelation. Mikumo's eyes widen in horror, repeating the word war, and feeling the weight of what Yuma's past truly means. Yuma reveals he has endured living in war zones every day, describing his past as a constant battlefield. His classmates react in shock, unable to imagine growing up amid armed conflict. Mikumo shares his thoughts on the strange environment they all inhabit, shaped by their experiences. The classmates acknowledge the complexities of their new surroundings, something often unseen from the outside. One student compares Japan's situation to war, highlighting its own unusual battles and challenges. Yuma listens quietly, understanding the parallels and the seriousness beneath the surface of their current life. Mikumo hesitates, admitting he doesn't really know much about neighbors, while Yuma remains silent and observant. A girl recounts how, 4.5 years ago, a dark hole appeared in the city sky and neighbors began their attack. The devastation is shown. Over 2 days, the area was destroyed and more than 100 people perished, with more missing. Yuma's eyes widen in shock as he learns just how catastrophic the events were. The group exchanges uneasy glances and recalls their fears from that time, thinking back to when they struggled to get back home. After this moment of shared memory, someone casually asks about Mikumo's elementary school, bringing the conversation back to the present. The girl calmly admits she's just average, no special skills to boast of. A classmate appears amazed and asks about martial arts techniques, trying to gauge her fighting ability. She simply notes the calm demeanor and that she stands out in her own way. The group continues discussing the harsh environment, where battles with neighbors shape their daily lives. The boy reassures that although war continues, there's a strange calm among the people, no one living on edge. Yuma contemplates this uneasy peace, as they all try to make sense of living, surrounded by constant conflict. The boy admits he doesn't really know much about neighbors, feeling unsure. A girl explains how, about 4.5 years ago, a mysterious black hole appeared in the city sky, signaling a deadly threat. The devastation is shown as the city recoils from the destruction, with over 1,000 people lost and many still missing. Yuma's face registers shock and disbelief upon hearing this. The classmates reminisce about their fears during that dark time when they struggled to find safety. Mikumo reflects quietly as the conversation shifts to less ominous matters, like their past school days. The boy admits he doesn't really know much about neighbors, feeling unsure. A girl explains how, about 4.5 years ago, a mysterious black hole appeared in the city sky, signaling a deadly threat. The devastation is shown as the city recoils from the destruction, with over 1,000 people lost and many still missing. Yuma's face registers shock and disbelief upon hearing this. The classmates reminisce about their fears during that dark time when they struggled to find safety. Mikumo reflects quietly as the conversation shifts to less ominous matters, like their past school days. Neighbors have a terrible reputation in the city, stirring fear and mistrust. Yuma questions the risk of associating with Mikumo, concerned about the dangers involved. Mikumo tries to downplay the seriousness, urging caution, but remaining calm despite the tension. He acknowledges the precarious position they are in with the neighbor threat looming. Yuma expresses gratitude and admits that Mikumo was the first border agent he met, feeling lucky to have that connection. Suddenly, a sensor activates, and Mikumo prepares for whatever warning or threat is about to come. Neighbors have a terrible reputation that makes others wary of associating with them. Yuma questions Mikumo directly, asking if he's sure about wanting to be connected to him. Mikumo remains calm but firm, acknowledging the danger but also his sense of duty. He explains the necessity of reporting any neighbor contacts, despite the risks involved. Yuma admits he owes Mikumo for past help, showing gratitude mixed with caution. Suddenly, a sensor alarm triggers, signaling an immediate threat and testing their readiness. Mikumo quietly admits he doesn't know much about neighbors, leaving Yuma surprised. A student explains how a mysterious black hole appeared years ago, marking the start of neighbor attacks. The devastation shown is vast, with entire areas destroyed and many missing or dead. Yuma feels overwhelmed by the scale of the destruction and loss. Classmates recall the chaos and fear from those days, trying to grasp the horror. Conversation shifts as Yuma reveals he went to grade school nearby, grounding the story for Makumo.